For the arts, we're more than a venue. We're the heart of creativity in the Lake Norman region, bringing exceptional visual arts, performing arts, and unforgettable gallery experiences to our community. Discover the difference. CaneArts.org.
Hey, it's Kevin Harrison with Harrison's. Now's the time to load up on layers. From lightweight long-sleeve t-shirts to heavy-duty Sherpa-lined coats and everything in between, Harrison's has what you need to work safe and work warm all winter long. Come see us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here, 4 o'clock hour on Thursday. If you're a 9 to 5er, you got 53 minutes and 22 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell, and I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here on Dollars and Cents, where we give attention to, and perhaps we'll even spark some conversation regarding items of financial and economic importance. Now, you know, after listening to Dollars and Cents any number of times here through the years, we're talking on all manner of things. We're going to be talking on companies again here today. We're going to be looking at some in a positive light, maybe some in a not so positive light. Things are a little bit rough right now, but as we're doing that, you recall again as a previous listener that nothing that we're talking about here is intended as a specific recommendation for you, meaning that even though we're getting into some of the details on these things, we're going to be doing it. We're still in the back end of earnings season, so we're going to be talking about earnings. Actually got a big one literally as we were coming online here for the show today, and a little bit of a teaser. I'm actually gonna have to check it at the first break to see what their quarterly earnings were. You know the name if I mention it, and I will here in a little while. But again, in looking at these companies positively, negatively, strategies, specific investments, again, everybody's situation is unique. We strongly recommend that you reach out to your tax advisor or to your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us, North Main Financial Group, love to hear from you. Love to chat about your particular financial situation, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. We have a contact page on there. Leave us your phone number, email address. Let us know the most preferred and desirable ways for us to contact you, again, at northmainfinancial.com. You're also welcome to call us here in the studio. I say this every week, and I want to make sure that I don't set expectations unnaturally high. Producer Reese, he's going to pick up the phone. If I can't get to you on the air with the subject matter, I promise you, if it's not during this show, it'll be next week. I want it to be relevant. I want to make sure that we touch on the kinds of things that you folks want to hear about. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464 here in the studio. One more time, 844-788-3464 here in the studio. All right, let's go ahead and get into, boy, with a lot sitting out there right now. And I got to talk about a big one. Talked a little bit about it last week. Got to talk about this word again. The word obviously has become, let me say it's very much more in the conversational vernacular. Is that a good dime phrase to kick things off? You say, what are you talking about here? Once I say it, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Tariffs. How many people were talking about tariffs before about 3 or 4 weeks ago? That's what I want to know. Just a bunch of econ professors and probably folks like me who hopefully weren't leading the conversation. But a lot more people know about tariffs now than they did here a couple of weeks ago. So at any rate, the reason why I'm mentioning that, since the last time we were together here, there was implementation and then some pausing of tariffs. Definitely has been hitting the radar screens and in the news cycles out there. So specifically looking at Canada, and Mexico, and China at this point. So last weekend, Canada, Mexico announced that tariffs would be put in place by the U.S. against certain items coming from Canada and from Mexico. Then fewer than 24 hours, after that announcement was made, it was announced that there was going to be a 30-day pause and also some additional accommodations made between U.S. and Canada and U.S. and Mexico. And so now there is a negotiation process that appears to be going on there. So those are on pause. China, for a number of things, that 10% tariff went into effect on Monday morning of this week, as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of the time of this recording, if you happen to be listening to the podcast version. And so that is in place. Now, there has been a lot of the proverbial saber rattling since that time. And, what is it going to mean? How long are these going to last? What will be the retaliatory tariffs, which I think is an appropriate conversation as well. Certainly that has been threatened. And I say that in a negotiating economic sense, that has been threatened as well by these countries and other countries where it looks like there would be a possibility that tariffs could be imposed in the future. And so there's a lot of speculation. I mean, if your newsreel, if your timeline on Twitter, not Twitter, X anymore, if it looks like mine, I mean, it's almost every other entry you're seeing something on that right now, which I get it. Again, it's bombarding the airwaves, including right now. Here I am bringing it to you here on Dollars and Cents. But in doing so, I think it's good always that we take things in perspective. And one of the things that we recommend that folks do, because I have had way more conversationally this week than I anticipated about tariffs, what they are, what the implications are, what does it mean for the markets, my portfolio, fill in the blanks. You know what the conversations would be like. And one of the first things that I recommend, that we recommend at North Main Financial that folks do, is let's take a deep breath first. I understand it's very politically charged. It's very emotional relative to the recently held elections and new Congress and new occupant in the Oval Office. I get all of that. It's very understandable. But let's take a deep breath first. So let's do that, and we take kind of the air out of the balloon a little bit, and then let's talk about what's reality. So we're talking about something that may or may not be put into place. We saw that just with Canada and Mexico earlier this week. Lots of noise over the weekend about what it was going to mean, what was going to happen, all this extrapolation. I mean, it was thinking in, what's coming next, thinking in straight lines. We do that with alarming regularity, extrapolating that because it's in place today, it's going to be in place 30 days from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now. Folks, that's not how this works. Okay, let's talk about it at point of entry. It hasn't even happened yet. It's on pause. With China, relatively small amount. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden the televisions are going to go up by double the price. What are the ramifications? Folks, we don't know yet. We truly don't. If they're put in place at all, how long are they put in place? On what kinds of goods are they put in place? There will always be, in these kinds of movements, there will be consequences known and then unintended or unknown consequences until they actually happen. And that's part and parcel to how this kind of process works. So we encourage folks to take a deep breath, to understand a little bit about what's happening, in that most instances, nothing has happened yet, or very little has happened yet. And then 3, if this is a sustained kind of thing on certain things relative to certain companies in certain spaces, then let's understand what those long-term trends may be. And by long-term, I mean more than the next couple of weeks or couple of months. That's not a long-term trend. So is it something that is going to be a fundamental shift from an economic standpoint for the U.S. relative to these companies or countries, and then specifically with regards to companies and certain inbound products to the U.S., or is this a short-term negotiating tool, which is also possible as well? And we saw that really with last weekend. You don't have to believe me. Look, last weekend, I mean, that's really what allowed for the 30-day pause with Canada and for Mexico. There was conversation, rather hastily arranged conversation, and then the agreement on a pause, and that things were going to be negotiated or discussed. So that's why we say to folks, let's make sure that we're taking a deep breath. We understand exactly in the best ways that we can what's going on. And then if there are shifts, then you make fully informed, or at least as fully informed decisions as they can relative to long-term trend. We don't trade, this, we tell you that all the time. Don't trade based upon what's happening in the moment or today, or based upon what somebody told you. That's not strategy. That's guessing or doing something because somebody else is doing it, which I'm pretty sure is not a good way to manage a portfolio or a financial plan. I think so. 30 years of doing this, that's probably the case. But at any rate, I want you to be mindful of those kinds of things, especially because the noise gets a little bit louder, especially the longer that it goes on. And I want to make sure that you're making decisions for all the best reasons. Well, we're going to take a few seconds here to hear from our sponsors. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us here in a couple minutes as we come back here on WSIC.
More of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, a pretty nice turnaround after our gloomy Wednesday, chilly Wednesday too. Some clouds to start for our Thursday morning, sunshine back for the afternoon as we warm up to around 70 Finish off our Thursday. Watch out for a couple of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder in the overnight hours. Friday's mostly dry, though. Sunshine back. Temperature still close to 70. A little cooler and gray for Saturday. Warmer Sunday. And then we settle into cold rain heading into early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like iCats Public Transit.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents 3 consecutive nights of live music. On Thursday, February 6th, Anna Mertson performs. On Friday night, finalists from Season 19 of The Voice, John Sullivan takes the stage, while Classically Rockin' offers up a big show on Saturday. Enjoy live music performances at Bin 110 in Cornelius this weekend. Calling all superheroes, wizards, and fandom fanatics, the Statesville Comic-Con is this Saturday at the Statesville Civic Center. The show runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are only $5 for adults, $2 for those 12 years old and younger, and free admission for age 3 and younger. Make plans to bring your cosplay A-game, snag some epic merch, and enjoy all things comics, games, and pop culture. Whether you're a Marvel maniac, a Jedi master, or just love the vibe, the Statesville Civic Center is the place to be this Saturday for the Statesville Comic-Con. Sunday is National Pizza Day, and Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville is ready for you. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., the kitchen and bar are open for dine-in or take-out. Come and enjoy some good food and beverages or grab a to-go order in case anyone may be stopping by or you are visiting someone else. Come celebrate National Pizza Day Sunday with Ghostface Brewing. Get a behind-the-scenes look at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Dirt Track, and Z-Max Dragway. Learn the illustrious history of each track while taking in the sights and sounds of America's home for racing. Check out the special Race Week tours that can take you behind the scenes of some of the most famous race teams ever, or show you what the Speedway looks like when it gets ready to host a NASCAR weekend. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for more details and information on daily tours and experiences. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Dollars and Cents continues now. Here's your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here into the second quarter football reference for today's show. I mean, we got to talk football pretty seriously. We're going to be doing that throughout today's show. We're going to be doing it in a fun way. I promise you we'll be doing that. Chances are we're probably going to include that other word that begins with F. And before anybody gets too excited, I'm talking about food as well. Food that has to do with football and specifically the Super Bowl. But I appreciate you hanging with us there. I mean, it's a big week. I mean, when you look at it in terms of, how folks prepare, and I mean prepare. I've seen some of these party spreads that you all put on. I mean, it's not to say I don't do the same thing, but I mean, some of you are really serious about this kind of stuff. I've seen some food preparations look like works of art. I'm afraid even to touch them, let alone eat them. But I do. I don't let that slow me down. That's so kind of fun. We'll be talking about some football food a little bit later on today during today's show. But let's. I got to get into earnings. We were talking about the tariff impacts or the possibility for tariff impacts in the first quarter of today's show here, and we really don't know yet. We're going to be watching it. It's obviously something that's very high on the radar screen for so many folks, but certainly we're looking at it from an economic standpoint. What will it mean? Certain companies, certain industries going to be affected. How will the consumer react? Will the consumer slow down spending? All of those kinds of things, big deal when it comes to our economy and the kinds of things that we're watching. All right, let's pivot a little bit, get into earnings, and I got to touch on a couple of big ones here. And these are names that are almost household names at this point. And certainly if you're not familiar with them, they are very big in the market world. Got to talk Google. Google is, or excuse me, Alphabet. We got all these name changes now. Companies just needed to, I guess, switch up a little bit, keep us on our toes. Alphabet, formerly known as Google. Alphabet's the larger holding company. Ticker symbol on the C-share side of things, GOOG, Green, Oscar Green. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. Came out with quarterly earnings that frankly, this is subjective here coming through, frankly, I thought were reasonably good, especially in light of what I thought were very elevated expectations. Boy, the market just didn't like it all that much. The pullback was really due to just not hitting what I thought were some very elevated expectations. Yes, there were some pullback and weaknesses in the cloud end of things, where Google is really spending a lot of money. They're spending a tremendous amount of money on AI-related infrastructure and software-related sorts of things, which most of the big technology companies are doing right now. And the market really wasn't pleased about it. I mean, this was yesterday, as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of the time of this recording. Stock was down 7% for the day. That's a big number. 7% of a company the size of Google. You're talking not just billions, but tens of billions of dollars in reduction in market capitalization. So again, not a recommendation on the stock or bonds, but interesting to see how the market reacted to that, because it hasn't been true across the board. I mean, you look at some of the earnings from earlier in the week. Yes, I'm looking at Palantir. Palantir, ticker symbol Paul, Larry, Tom, Roger. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds for Palantir. Just crushed what I thought were already outrageous expectations. Palantir, if you don't know, IT company primarily in the high-end database development and management end of things. They have contracts with the Department of Defense, some very, very high-end sophisticated things that they provide and maintain. And then also, again, significant investors in AI infrastructure kind of spaces, including with the products that they provide. And they're out. They crushed it. I can't call it anything else other than that. Margin acceleration within the company, raised guidance in terms of looking forward. Very interesting. Very interesting. Certainly, I didn't anticipate that. The market didn't anticipate that. Stock shot up. Stock was up over 20% in one day. Much smaller company than Google, but I'm really just. I share those kinds of things because I don't like to talk about just companies that increase in value on quarterly earnings or just companies that decrease in value on quarterly earnings, because it's not true that everybody working in the same environment necessarily is having the same experiences right now. Very, very important when you're looking at allocating your portfolio. All right, technology, going to pivot a little bit, looking at the pharmaceutical end of things, and I'm bringing in Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly, very traditional, large cap pharmaceutical company, ticker symbol Larry Yellow, LLY. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds. Very positive quarter again. And they are, Eli Lilly is one of several companies, especially large pharmaceutical companies, who have some of these GLP-1 drugs on the market right now. Without getting too far in the granularity, and I'm certainly not a doctor or an expert when it comes to all things pharmaceutical drug related, GLP-1s are essentially these weight loss drugs, or these drugs that are being used for weight loss out there right now. And Eli Lilly has one of them. And there are a couple of other companies that have the most commonly prescribed ones out there right now. The margins and the volume that they're selling on these things is just astronomical. And you can see it in Lilly's stock price here over the last 2 years. Just amazing kinds of appreciation because of what was before the last couple of years really an untouched market. There really weren't these kinds of things that were being prescribed in the size, scale, and scope that they are today. And so when we're looking at earnings for Lilly and overwhelmingly the margin, especially the breadth of margin coming from these GLP-1 derivatives is pretty amazing. So again, weight loss drugs are up and they continue to meet what I think is very elevated guidance ongoing. So it's going to be interesting to watch them and the whole industry in that end of things. So a lot of news that's sitting out there right now. All right, I told you we're going to talk about food, and I am going to talk about candy, and I got to look at Hershey. I mean, how can you not look at Hershey when you're talking about all things candy related? Ticker symbol HSY, Henry Sam Yellow, not a recommendation. Buy, sell, or hold the stock. Very interesting. They came out with a great quarter, especially because Hershey, a little bit more value-oriented company in that they don't tend to trade at very rich multiples, so it tends to be a little bit more conservative as a stock. It doesn't tend to move as much. Came out with a great quarter. Big movement in the market for them, 3 or 4% in a single day. Very, very interesting to see that. And because they came out with very, very good quarterly earnings, but then they followed that up almost immediately by saying, And this next quarter is going to be miserable. I don't know if you track the price of cocoa. I hope not. Only weird people like me and those folks who trade in cocoa futures are probably looking at these kinds of things. The price of cocoa is at an all-time high right now. And cocoa obviously being one of the base ingredients in the formation of many kinds of chocolate. Obviously, Hershey, big in the chocolate business. The price of cocoa has risen so much here recently that Hershey already is saying for this next quarter that they anticipate a 30% decrease in earnings per share. That, folks, for a company like Hershey, that is other side of the moon kind of stuff. That is a huge kind of movement in a very short time frame and a huge reduction in earnings per share. And I think the market responded positively because now they know at least a measure in advance that this is going to be the case. But Hershey was very, very intentional. I listened to a little bit of the quarterly earnings call, very, very intentional about coming out and saying, hey, this is a great, my words, and I'm paraphrasing here, hey, this has been a great quarter, but please adjust your expectations for this coming quarter, and primarily because of, not primarily, almost exclusively because of the huge increase in cocoa prices that, which by the way, not tariff related, just in case anybody wants to get excited on that, due to a number of other things in the trading markets, because this was obviously going on before this talk of tariffs, but definitely on the radar screen. 30% reduction that they're guiding to in terms of a reduction in earnings per share in the next quarter. So basically, we're going to take a little nap, and we're going to come back, and it's going to be the end of the next quarter. So very, very quick on that. Next company, again, food related. Love food here. Kellanova. Kellanova, you may say, well, who in the world is Kellanova? Well, Kellanova is one of the derivatives of the old Kellogg's before they did their spinoffs, and they're the folks who are, yes, they're the ones who do Pop-Tarts and Rice Krispies. I do love Pop-Tarts. Remember we talked a couple of weeks ago that Pop-Tarts was in a collaboration, and I forget even who it was, but they were in some kind of, it was a good one, producer Reese.
Krispy Kreme.
That's exactly right. Krispy Kreme. How could I forget Krispy Kreme donuts? And by the way, they have one of the best ticker symbols out there, DNUT, as in donut, if you say it fast enough, right? I mean, it's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, Pop-Tarts, Krispy Kreme donuts, yeah. I mean, put them together too. Absolutely wonderful. Anyhow, but a big jump in profit. Good on the gross line. Good on the net line there. Didn't say a whole lot, which I thought was kind of interesting. Didn't say a whole lot about the upcoming merger, which I still have to say is a possibility. Yes, it's in the pipeline, but nothing's real until it's real, about the merger with Mars. Mars Candy, privately held, has always been privately held, a $30 billion merger. So we were talking about a huge, huge acquisition there. Didn't say a whole lot about it. I thought that was kind of interesting, especially considering the size, scale, and scope of it, about how it's moving along. Are there antitrust concerns, anything like that? Nothing was put out there. So that's on the radar screen. I don't take that to be an overly negative kind of thing, but it definitely is on my radar screen in that they didn't come out to chat about it. And I think that was kind of interesting that they didn't. All right, we're going to keep moving here. It's just earnings after earnings. I love talking about these companies. I hope you enjoy it as well. Got to look at a big one. Has a huge presence here in Charlotte, and that's a group called Honeywell. Ticker symbol HON, Henry Oscar Nancy, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. Honeywell, it has been announced, is going to be splitting up into 3 separate and distinct companies. Meaning they're going to be spinoffs from that. And we've seen this a lot with companies like Honeywell here over the last several years. I had a conversation this morning we were just talking about 25 years ago, the trend was exactly the opposite. It was, let's get these business units together and put them under one huge umbrella. General Electric did that, put them under one huge umbrella, and then about 2 years ago, they divested it into 3 companies. A group called United Technologies did that about 25 years ago, and then divested into a number of, or 3 different companies. So it's interesting that Honeywell now is also going to be doing something very similar, pretty traditional kind of company, lots of automation, aerospace kind of influence on that end of things. So when we're looking at Honeywell, it's going to be very interesting to see. Market didn't particularly like it because they didn't have a particularly good quarter from an earnings standpoint, but it's interesting to see the trend now that we're seeing with these large, especially industrial style conglomerates that are spinning off. So big probably for the folks here who work for Honeywell here in Charlotte, and not only in this country but around the world. Appreciate you folks for hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us, coming back in a moment.
We'll have have more of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi following these brief messages on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, a pretty nice turnaround after our gloomy Wednesday, chilly Wednesday too. Some clouds to start for our Thursday morning, sunshine back for the afternoon as we warm up to around 70. Finish off our Thursday. Watch out for a couple of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder in the overnight hours. Friday's mostly dry though, sunshine back. Temperature still close to 70. A little cooler and gray for Saturday, warmer Sunday, and then we settle into cold rain heading into early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Don't miss the boat. Don't miss the boat, baby. Shop LKN Local for the best lake apparel, home decor, and gift ideas. Locally loved, made, and delivered right to your door. For the love of the lake, shop lkn-local.com today.
Inspire your team and gallop to greatness. Our horses at Willow Equine are outstanding at working with people on leadership and team building skills. Perfect for corporate retreats. Visit willowequine.com as you gallop to greatness.
Would you like to change your health situation? Improve your current health with a wellness consultation with me, Fred Lowry, pharmacist and doctor of natural medicine. I'll work with you to reach your individual goals. This includes a review of your current medications, supplements, diet, and lifestyle choices. This is a progressive way to improve your current health position for your future. Great for individuals or couples wanting to make improvement. Call me at Lowry Drug in Statesville, 704-873-2247.
Hey folks, you know Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville is known for the prices and selection, but I tell you what, you may not have known the distinction that this store received with Ford and Lincoln this year. We received the President's Award for 2023 for Ford for the 5th year in a row. We also received it for Lincoln for the first year, and I tell you, those awards don't come easily. It all boils down to taking care of the customers and having the vehicles you want in stock for you to buy.
Hi. This is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Rev up your dreams with a bike from Tilly Harley-Davidson. Whether you're new to Harley or a seasoned pro, Tilly has the bike for you. Come experience the freedom of the ride. Feel the thrill of the road and the thunder that only a Harley can provide. Stop by Tilly Harley-Davidson of Statesville or go to TillyHD.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Owning a home is still more affordable than renting in much of the country, but in both cases, it's still not easy. That's what the real estate analytics firm Adam has found in its latest report, showing that major ownership expenses on typical single-family homes require a smaller portion of average wages than renting three-bedroom places in almost 60% of U.S. counties. Adam says that buying a home is most favorable in the Midwest and South, followed by the Northeast. The West is the exception, where rentals are more affordable. Allstate says it expects about $1.1 billion worth of losses from the wildfires that ravaged Los Angeles last month. Last week, Chubb said it expected $1.5 billion of losses in the first quarter. Estimates of the total cost for the industry have climbed to as much as $40 billion. Futures are edging higher this morning after a higher close for Wall Street yesterday. Gains range from 0.2% to around 0.7%. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The number one station for people who say we're their favorite station.
WSIC.
We're back now with more of Dollars and Cents with your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much. Hanging with us here, second half of today's show. We were talking about some of the good stuff there as far as food company earnings. I told you we were going to be talking about food. It's Super Bowl week. You know, now, Producer Reese, I know there are some strong feelings all the way around with regards to the teams in the Super Bowl. At least it seems like it, right? And it's, you get that every Super Bowl. You get the folks who are really enthusiastic because of, the teams, if it's your team, that's in the Super Bowl, and then you get everybody else because, just math. Everybody else is disappointed right now because their team's not in it on that end of things. But this seems to be a particularly there seems to be a particular amount of enthusiasm on both sides. Both those teams who are very passionate about either the Eagles or the Chiefs, and then there's everybody else in that. Now, are you for one? I mean, are you Eagles, Chiefs, or you're like, I just want to see a good game? Yeah, can't disagree with you there. I mean, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, had a great year, doing a great job for them. They're up in Buffalo as well. I was pulling for the Detroit Lions, and not because I'm from Detroit, but they've done so much losing here through these last several decades. I just want, and they were so close. Anyhow, we all have our favorites. It's fun to talk about. Appreciate you indulging me here on Dollars and Cents as we're talking about. I mean, football, big business, big business when it comes to things financial. And I'm not just talking about the cost of the tickets, which, of course, is in the thousands of dollars to be able to attend, but I'm talking about what advertisers pay for a 30-second spot or a 60-second spot on there. You're talking about millions of dollars for just 30 seconds. And that's one time kind of thing. That just shows you the impact, that number of folks who are watching, and about what the market says those things are worth. I mean, it really is amazing stuff. I know I shared with you here a couple of weeks ago as we were talking about the Super Bowl, and I remember because I was very much around there in the year 2000, and in the year 2000, I just read this as some of the data from my research, that there were 17 .com companies, meaning this was at really the early stages of the public distribution of the internet, and there were 17 .com companies or internet companies that bought Super Bowl time or Super Bowl advertising time on television in the year 2000. By 2001, at least 3 of those companies were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And I say at least 3, probably more than that, were on their way at that time. It was because that was the zenith. I mean, March of 2000 was the zenith, the high point as far as that initial boom in a positive way of the internet. And then it took several years for the internet and internet companies to really shake out, and for the market to understand who was making money and who was just out there with a catchy slogan that was out there. So kind of an interesting time and interesting to watch that kind of thing, especially with regards to the Super Bowls. All right, let's keep going here. I want to mention a company that is fairly ubiquitous in the world of all things retail, and even from a branding standpoint. I mean, they are certainly one of the most well-known names here in the country. I'm looking at Walmart. Ticker symbol Walter Mary Tom, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds, and an announcement specifically right here in the Charlotte region. Now, last year, I had mentioned on one show for Dollars and Cents, they had announced they're going to be paring back about 155 jobs here in the Charlotte region, and that came to fruition last year, to my understanding, and now they announced they're going to be paring back another 250 jobs here in the Charlotte region. Now, they also came out and said, as they disclosed that they were going to be paring those back, that most of those folks would be offered positions either out in one of their one of their offices in San Francisco, or at the main mothership there in Bentonville, Arkansas. So not an elimination of the jobs, more of a repositioning kind of things, but still a big deal. If you are one who works more on the corporate side of things, I'm not talking about the stores themselves, but on the corporate side of things for Walmart, reduction in some of the Charlotte-based workforce, and so I share that with you so that you're aware of that. Not the kind of thing we like to hear anywhere, but certainly sensitivity here in the Charlotte region when we heard that kind of thing as well. All right, let's pivot a little bit. We're going to come back to a segment. We've taken a break from it here for the last several weeks. I'm going to come back into it. It's important, and it's important not just because I'm saying it's important, but it's important because we call it What to Know. Specifically, what to know with regards to your finances. And it's different for everybody. Everybody's at a different phase in their financial lives. Everybody's at a different phase as far as what they need. Everybody is at a different phase age-wise, whether you're earlier in your career, later in your career, retired. So I'm not saying this is something that everybody should know, but it's the kind of thing where we're having some very consistent conversations. I like to bring it up just as a part of the show periodically, so that if we're having a lot of conversations about it with folks and answering a lot of questions about it, perhaps you have questions about it and are having these kinds of conversations as well. But specifically, I'm looking at cash savings rates. So when we're talking about cash savings rates or about savings rates, I'm looking at banks primarily, or other financial institutions that where you have the opportunity to have a checking account, a savings account, a money market account, or CDs. So I'm not talking about equities here. I'm not talking about bonds. I'm not talking about commodities or precious metals or anything like that. I'm specifically looking at cash and cash-like instruments. So I'm looking again, checking account, savings accounts, money markets, and CDs. The kinds of things that you'll find at a bank, probably at your bank, or at another financial institution as well. And specifically why I'm raising it is because we're seeing and we're having a lot of conversations practically every day, at least in verbal or in digital format, with folks about rates on savings accounts or money market accounts or CDs. And I'm bringing it up because if you're one who's a saver in the bank, or if you have a savings account or a money market account, or you look at CDs and you buy CDs with some regularity, I want to make sure that you're aware that there are different kinds of entities that have different interest rates out there. And I say that because, we've seen a lot of instances where folks are, sitting on larger balances in savings accounts, in money market accounts that are earning very, very low rates of interest. And rates have risen some. And I'm not saying this to say that those institutions are bad or wrong. That's not my intent here, but really to make you aware that there are banks and other financial institutions, again, all under the umbrella of the FDIC. So I'm not talking about anything weird or twisted that's out there that may be something that somebody's trying to, do so fraudulently. These are entities just like every other bank that is under the FDIC charter. So this is something, it's important to be looking at competition and what other things may be out there. So if you do a Google search or you look at a site like a bankrate.com, which is a great site for taking a look at what institutions across the country are doing when it comes to CD rates or money market rates or high yield savings rates. And that's just one instance. I don't have any relationship with bankrate.com, but it's been around for a very long time and is one of those sites where you can take a look at what is out there. But we're encouraging folks, take a look, especially again, if you're one who saves in a savings account, money market account, or buys CDs. Make sure you're taking a look at the competition out there because we're finding wide disparities in rates that are being offered, specifically when I'm looking at money market accounts and looking at high yield savings accounts. Again, high yield savings accounts under FDIC chartered banks that can be over 3% right now. And I say that because we're also seeing rates that are, significantly under 1%. So if you have a larger balance and you're able to increase your savings rate by a couple of percent, that can have a significant impact on the amount of interest that you're paid over the course of a year. Everybody's situation is unique. It's not a recommendation for you to change your bank or anything like that, but just to be aware that there are some interest rates out there that are notably higher than what we've seen at some banks and other institutions. So take a look at it. Take a look at what your options are. Even ask the bank where you do your banking. Perhaps they're running a special or they'll offer you, but sometimes they're called teaser rate kinds of things where they may offer it to you for 6 months or for 12 months. I mean, folks, if it's significantly above where you are right now, if you're going to be keeping that money in a savings, money market account, or CD anyhow, why not take advantage of the special and get paid a little bit more interest? So that's under the What to Know segment today. Take a look at if you're a savings account person, money market person, one who buys CDs, make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. Take a look at what's out there. Again, everybody's situation is unique. There doesn't need to be a reason why you're making a change, but if you're looking for higher interest rates, chances are there may be some possibilities out there that may be attractive to you. So take a look at it. That's more of just an awareness thing. All right, let's keep moving here. Got to get ready for the fourth quarter here in just a minute. Football Reference. It's Super Bowl week. I'm going to be talking football in the fourth quarter as well. And then we're definitely going to be talking food here in the fourth quarter. But when we're talking about what we're seeing out there trend-wise as well, also in addition to those high-yield savings rates, under things about what to know, saw a good amount of data here recently with regards to participation in 401ks. 401ks, company retirement plan kinds of things where you make contributions to the plan, your company may make contributions to the plan. They've been around for about 50 years now, but they really have been used a lot here in the last 30 years or so. Encouraging to see the participation rates are steadily increasing. And in part, some of these 401k plans have mandatory sign-up. So it's been good to see that. But we're still only at 50% participation. So that's why I'm bringing that up to you there. If you have a 401k, especially you have a company match, make sure you're taking a look at it. Might be a good possibility for you to consider. All right, we're going to take a break here one more time as we get ready for the fourth quarter here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us as we come back on WSIC.
Keep it right here. Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi will return shortly on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, a pretty nice turnaround after our gloomy Wednesday, chilly Wednesday too. Some clouds to start for our Thursday morning, sunshine back for the afternoon as we warm up to around 70. Finish off our Thursday. Watch out for a couple of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder in the overnight hours. Friday's mostly dry though, sunshine back. Temperature still close to 70. A little cooler and gray for Saturday, warmer Sunday, and then we settle into cold rain heading into early next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents 3 consecutive nights of live music. On Thursday, February 6th, Anna Mertson performs. On Friday night, finalists from season 19 of The Voice, John Sullivan takes the stage, while Classically Rockin' offers up a big show on Saturday. Enjoy live music performances at Bin 110 in Cornelius this weekend. Calling all superheroes, wizards, and fandom fanatics, the Statesville Comic-Con is this Saturday at the Statesville Civic Center. The show runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are only $5 for adults, $2 for those 12 years old and younger, and free admission for age 3 and younger. Make plans to bring your cosplay A-game, snag some epic merch, and enjoy all things comics, games, and pop culture. Whether you're a Marvel maniac, a Jedi master, or just love the vibe, the Statesville Civic Center is the place to be this Saturday for the Statesville Comic-Con. Sunday is National Pizza Day, and Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville is ready for you. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., the kitchen and bar are open for dine-in or take-out. Come and enjoy some good food and beverages or grab a to-go order in case anyone may be stopping by or you are visiting someone else. Come celebrate National Pizza Day Sunday with Ghostface Brewing. Get a behind-the-scenes look at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Dirt Track, and Z-Max Dragway. Learn the illustrious history of each track while taking in the sights and sounds of America's home for racing. Check out the special Race Week tours that can take you behind the scenes of some of the most famous race teams ever, or show you what the Speedway looks like when it gets ready to host a NASCAR weekend. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more details and information on daily tours and experiences. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Making your money make sense. Dollars and Cents with CFP Joshua Dobi on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter of today's show, 11 minutes, 55 seconds until that 5 o'clock bell. If you're a 9 to 5er, and I appreciate you spending that time with us here. We're in the stretch run. It's the fourth quarter, football reference. It's Super Bowl week. Are you kidding me? Now we got to talk about a little food. We got to talk about that other word that starts with F that we like to talk about, finances and food and football. I got to talk about this one. Not a publicly traded company here, but a one of our chain establishments near and dear to my heart. Yes, I'm looking at you, Waffle House, and I say, Waffle House is just one of those things. It's we love it here in the Carolinas. We do, and. Broke my heart when the one we had here at Exit 28 closed down. But interesting thing, this just has to do with some of the cost of doing business, and it's true. It's going to be true, I think, for a number of our restaurants, especially if prices continue to rise. Waffle House is now charging an egg surcharge. I just saw this here in the Wall Street Journal. Here, I think it was even in today's Wall Street Journal as of the time of this recording. An egg surcharge. They're charging you an extra 50 cents per egg. So I'm assuming that means if you get like the 3-egg omelet or something like that, it's going to charge you another $1.50 as an egg surcharge because of where the price of eggs is. I mean, it's a real thing that's out there. Won't slow me down from going to Waffle House. That's still worth it as far as I'm concerned. But interesting in the food end of things. By the way, Waffle House, privately owned. Primarily owned by the Rogers family, and so not publicly traded. So no ticker symbol on that end of things. Just one of my favorite haunts, and I know it might be one of your favorites as well. So be aware of the egg surcharge at Waffle House. All right, let's talk a little bit more food here. We're going to get a little bit anecdotal, and then I'll talk markets. I promise. Before we get off the air, Super Bowl food favorites. Now, this was as reported by Fox News. They took it off a poll that casino.org did. I don't know casino.org, who that may be. So this is going to be let's call it a very subjective poll, although it claimed to poll several thousand folks from around the country, literally touching all 50 states. So that's what they claim, but I don't know if this is true or not. So if you disagree with me, don't call in the studio. Don't say anything bad to producer Reese. This is just me talking about food and Super Bowl, according to this fairly, well, let's call it completely non-scientific poll here. Number one food in the country, meaning that they did this state by state relative to the polling, 32 states. And I know they were talking about this on Good Morning LKN as well, which, by the way, if you're not listening to them, 7 to 9 every Monday to Friday, make sure you're tuning into them as well. Bill, Mamie, and the Chief Justin. They're great stuff. And it'll make you chuckle too. Great stuff to be listening to in the morning. So I know they were talking about it, but I like talking about food too. So I think they were looking at North Carolina favorites. This is a little bit more national. Number one food, 32 states said that the number one favorite food they like for the Super Bowl, chicken wings. Now, I got to agree with you there. I probably could eat fried chicken wings just about every day of my life, not just for the Super Bowl. So I got to say I'm in the majority there. Number two, which I think is a fairly easy one, potato chips. The favorite food. Producer Reese has given me the high five there on that end of things. Number two, 7 states that said that they of the folks polled, that was their favorite food. And then the third one, which I guess you do delineate it a little bit. I would have lumped them together, nachos. So, nachos, I would put them in the chip category, but I guess they were being specific about, and that producer Reese is saying that's good as well. So you may be a purist. You may say that nachos are very distinct from potato chips. And I guess in terms of their constituency a little bit, or what you put on them, or how you dip them, those kinds of things may be a little bit different, which brings me to the second part of the poll, the number one dips. So that for the dips that you like to have, so whether you're using potato chips or carrots, or if it's anybody, people use carrots and celery or something that's modestly healthy in that. Number one dip for Super Bowl consumption, I can't disagree with this. 18 states said queso. Melted cheese. Where do you go after that? I'm not taking anything away from the salsa folks or from. And the spinach artichoke, folks. All that's good as well. But queso dip, yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. And then number two, and I know this is a big favorite for me as well, because I like things that might be a little bit spicy from time to time. Buffalo chicken dip. That's it. That's 16 states. So right behind queso, they're not too many, not too far fewer than queso. Again, the number one dip of choice when they're watching the Super Bowl. So again, very non-scientific poll there, as reported by Fox News, coming out of a poll done by casino.org. But you probably have your own favorites. And like I said, I've seen some of y'all in terms of the kind of spreads that you put on for the Super Bowl or for the playoffs. These are works of art. Sometimes you all put things in the shape of a football field or a football or in the shape of a football player. That's wonderful. Although you could give me a box of Krispy Kremes in one hand and a bag of potato chips in the other hand, I'd probably be as happy as a pig in mud on my end of things. But anyhow, good stuff there. So if you're a football person, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. The football game coming up here on Saturday again between the Eagles and the Chiefs. All right, let's talk markets. I know I always save it towards the end. I like to keep you on the hook here until we get towards the end of things. Continues as always. It's a very, very interesting market. And I had mentioned there was a company that was scheduled to have their earnings call here. Didn't get a chance to take a look at what their earnings were, but Amazon. I mentioned them at the front end of today's show. Amazon reporting earnings as of the time of this live broadcast, or as of this recording, ticker symbol Alpha Mary Zulu Nancy. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds, but they were expected. Let me say that. So I saw some of the analyst expectations based upon guidance from the company and their particular analytics, anticipating really just a spectacular quarter for Amazon. Which again, when you're looking at the size, scale, and scope of the company, that's hard to quantify. I mean, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars in a quarter. I mean, it's just amazing. So like I said, as soon as I get offline here, I'm going to be checking it out. Definitely be talking about it next week on Dollars and Cents. But when we're looking at the markets overall right now, very, very interesting. We had some turbulence early on this week as markets were getting unsettled with the uncertainty of where the tariffs are going to be kicking in, how long they were going to be, on what products, what companies would be affected. So a lot of guessing by the market, and so there was a pretty good sized dip on dip, not Super Bowl fun dip, but actually dip as in movement lower in the markets there Monday morning. That largely was resolved by Monday afternoon. And I would speculate from my end of things, probably because of the pauses that were indicated for both Mexico and Canada on the tariff end of things. That's my guess, is the reason why that was the case. So, but still a lot of unknown that's sitting out there. What will be the impact? You heard me talk about at the front end of today's show in the first segment, talking about how you got to take a deep breath on it, that nothing is imposed here for years or decades up front, that this is part of sometimes negotiation, what actually is going to be material at the end of things. That's what's most important. It's a little bit like when a bill goes before Congress and it's introduced or it comes out of committee. Folks, by the time that thing gets actually voted on by the full Congress, it can have as many different colors as there are in the rainbow from what it was initially. So very, very important. Look at the end product. Don't get too carried away with what the beginning product may be, certainly when it comes to tariffs. And I think that's what the market is absorbing right now. We really don't know. We really don't have that clear indication about who and what and how long it's going to be. And the market doesn't like uncertainty. You know that. You hear me say that all the time here on Dollars and Cents, but it's definitely something that's going to continue to be on our radar screen. So what does that mean, with regards to where the market has been? Well, it was a very positive January. And I mean, gosh, can you believe it? I mean, we're already through the first month of the year, only 11 more to go here in 2025, hard as that is for someone like me to quantify. But we're already through the first month of the year, as measured by our most popular indices, generally positive. In the first month, not hugely, but for a month of movement, yeah, I would say pretty notable of movement for a month. Generally positive, not that all companies were positive and not that all did well in January, but definitely some relatively positive movement in January. And then, of course, we have the multi-trillion-dollar question that immediately follows that. Okay, well, what's that mean for February? Or what does that mean for the balance of the year? Well, I'm going to give you a terrible answer to start. Nobody knows, right? But we're looking at things, though, excuse me, generally speaking, there is some, let's call it semi-positive, modestly positive momentum at this point. And is that going to continue? Don't know. Is there a reason why it shouldn't? Sure, there are always reasons why it shouldn't, just like there are always reasons why it should. And that's part of what it means to be in the market, is to understand trends, to not get carried away by the noise of the moment. And I don't know about you, but I hear a tremendous amount of noise practically every moment, and sifting through that and understanding what it means for your plan and what it means for your portfolio. Folks, that's so important, because it gets emotional. It really does. I mean, I understand why folks get carried away, both in a positive way and in a negative way, by what's happening in the moment, especially when it's pulsing through just about every kind of news digital outlet that we touch. And it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. I get it. But that's why it's so important to pay attention. That's why it's so important to understand history. That's why it's so important to only move based upon trend, because you can get caught sideways. You really can, especially if you're chasing the hot item, or if you're making decisions after things have pulled back a lot and you need to get out, you lock in your losses, and it's hard to recover. I mean, that happens all the time. Because remember this, I know this is a simple item, but I say this a lot to folks. Remember this, every time you're buying, someone's selling. That means you're buying it because you think it's going to go up. Somebody else is selling, perhaps, because they think it's going to go down, right? Same thing on the other side. When you're selling, newsflash, somebody else is buying. Now, it may not be because I think it's going to go up right away. There are a number of different reasons why folks buy and sell, but it's always very helpful, I think, to be reminded that somebody is doing the exact opposite of what you're doing at the exact moment that you're processing that transaction. I'm chuckling because that's what makes a market. So it's very, very important to keep those kinds of things in mind. Very, very important that you do your due diligence and that you make your decisions for the right reasons. All right, we're wrapping up here. I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. We talked on a number of different things today. If you take nothing else thematically out of here, it's always going to be noisy in the market. Make sure that you're doing your work and you make your decisions for the right reasons. Appreciate you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents. Tune in to us next week, 4 o'clock here on WSIC.
Better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville,